I bought my glasses in case I have to read something because I'm old and blind now. So.
We're not a reading.
Yeah, we're not really reading.
Like if you listen to us, we don't.
Oh, okay, good.
We don't make people read.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know because like now I have to remember to bring these things with me every now and then.
It's not an intellectual podcast.
Okay, good.
I mean, you could wear them just to look at the
Yeah, if you'd like to.
I look slightly
like
smarter with that, right?
It's like you're not even the same guy. It's like a Clark Kent situation.
It's just, yeah.
But this is Superman and this is Clark Kent, probably. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's more bookworm, and then you take the glasses off, and then
these are progressive
super
reading.
That's
glasses.
like hot librarian.
Because finally, after a while, after staring at the computer for 70 years, I'm like, oh my God. So I was wearing just my reading glasses, but then you have to lean really far in. But these you can see from a little more of a distance.
Okay.
So,
binoculars.
Kind of.
I think
Fancy
this is more hot librarian.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Or she's all that.
Oh yeah,
Very she's all that. Like
right?
like you take the glasses off and you're like, still hot.
Right. Like I mean, you remove.
Still hot.
Still good, right?
Yeah.
Today on Bagels My Podcast,
You'd want
David Caggiano is going to let us know how to lose a guy in 10 days.
Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my... Bacon! Bacon is my podcast! Bacon! Bacon is my...
What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. And before we get into this week, if one episode just isn't enough for you and you need a little bit more Bacon is My Podcast, head on over to patreon.com/Bacon is My Podcast. Over there, you will get access to monthly live streams, discounts on merch, early and commercial-free access to Bacon is My Podcast episodes. Some of them are even extended surprise giveaways, additional shows, including Tasting is My Passion, and, of course, Cooking with Bacon is My Passion. And, oh yeah, you get a crap ton of music. That's right, all of Jimmy and Mike's bands, previous, current, whatever it is, you'll get access to that music, demos, and much, much more. Just head on over to patreon.com/Bacon is My Podcast and learn what the hoopla is all about. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of... Wait, who's that? What?
We had a hot librarian here for a second.
Wow.
It's weird because it's like they kind of work and it's kind of no man's land, so it's like they don't really need to be on,
right?
Since I'm not reading anything over there, So.
For those of you listening in, our guest just took his glasses off,
and that guest is the one and only Dave Caggiano.
Woohoo!
Hey,
how you doing, Dave?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, thanks for hanging out.
And speaking of thanks, before we get into it, we would just like to thank our sponsors real quick. We have Fresh Clean Teas, we have BarkBox, we have Poddex, which we'll get into later, and we'll talk to you about it later. We have Paramount Plus,
Legacy Sports Supplements,
and then obviously to all of our patrons over on Patreon, Bacon is My Podcast at Patreon. You guys keep the show going. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. If you are interested in more stuff with us, tastings and cookings and all that kind of stuff, head over to the Patreon and check it out and become one of our patrons because you're our team.
Yeah, and we like a few weeks back, I went and I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna write a song.
Yeah.
And who wants to write a song? And I just started recording stuff, and people came on and they threw their 2 cents in, and we altered it and changed it around, and I'll go back and do it a little more.
Be a part of the process. Speaking of being a part of the process, Mr. Caggiano has been a part of both of our processes for quite a while now.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of bands in the area, a lot of bands in the scene. And, man, you've had your hands in a lot of great music over the last quite a few years.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, right?
It's been great, I mean, I feel blessed. I feel like truly it's like that you guys allow me to kind of come in and be a part of it. It's couldn't ask for anything more. It's a lot of fun,
So
for the
you were
going to do it.
I was going to do the same thing.
Okay.
You go
for those of you who don't know, Dave produced and engineered Craving Strange, Careful with Landmines,
Mhm.
everything since then,
Correct.
except for Father Christmas.
That's true. That's true.
That was you.
That was me.
That we did
That's
in
why-
Me My Own Self Studios.
Yeah, it was the basement. It was back in the basement.
Yeah,
And we tracked drums in their studio.
that's true. Yeah.
We went mobile, and also I worked with you on my last band, Last Turn Off Broadway's Graceful Art of Falling Apart, because I was brought in to do background vocals on Careful with Landmines, and I was like, this is how I need to record.
Now that's right. That's where I met you. That's with those great vocals on Landmines, and I mean the fact that you guys wanted to come in was awesome. You know, because it wound up working out really great, and that's how it is. It's like everybody pays it forward a little. It's like that's how I meet everybody. This one comes in on this session. That's how I met Katie Perlman, actually one of the artists I've been working with for years. She came in to jump in on a session with my friend Nick Santini, who was doing an EP at the time, and he wanted her to come in and do some backup vocals. So I met her. And we hit it off, and then she's like, "Hey, let's do something." And then ever since 2013, I've been doing all her records. So
That's
even playing on them too. I play bass and a little guitar on some of them too. Whatever it needs, you know.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those. It's one of those industries where everything is so much like they say all the time. It's like who you know and the contacts you make and all that kind of stuff. And it really is. And like the friends you make, you definitely want. When you find somebody that you work well with, and you find somebody that you trust, you want all your friends to kind of like you bring that to all your friends and all your other people that you like too, or you find people that are looking for somebody, and it's like, oh, go to this guy because he'll treat you well, you'll get a good product, you get a good thing. You've been like, you don't advertise for yourself.
No,
ever.
I don't do like typical advertising, or
you don't do any.
I don't do it like. I'm bad. You know, my manager keeps telling me, it's like, you know, it would do you some good to make a video every now and then, a YouTube video, an Instagram story. I will share Instagram stories that you guys put up and stuff that I'm involved in. I'll put it up there and share it. But I kind of have the problem, like, you know, we're on camera now, and I'm like, kind of like, yikes, you know. It's like, I mean, but it's you guys, so it's all good. But I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if it's old school or weird or like quirky. I mean, I don't want any attention. That's why being a record producer is the perfect thing for me, because I get to help you guys make your music come to life in the best way possible, and you guys get all the accolades, you know? And that's just the way I want it. I don't want any attention put on me whatsoever. Yeah. So, but I love being part of the creative process. I like helping you guys arrange the tunes, you know, record the tunes, you know, give my 2 cents worth, keeping all y'all happy, keeping it all together. That part I love, but don't look at me.
Now, have you always been like that? Because as many people know, you did start out as a guitar player for a band. You had some success. You went on the road. You did some tours. I don't know if you want to tell anybody anything about it.
No, it's all part of the story. It's all part of the tapestry of the whole thing. Back 20 to 25 years ago, I was in a band called Liquid Logic that made a little bit of noise in the New York City area. You know, had a couple different record deals, got to tour all over the country in 2001. I can't believe it was 20 years ago now. It's like, oh my God, but I'm old. Hello. But it was so much fun. And it's like, I got to live the dream that I had when I was a kid, you know, because all I wanted out of all this, I wanted to give back. I wanted everything it did for me, music in general, my Kiss records, my Beatles records, my Rush records, whatever it was that I was into. It fed me. It fed my soul. It kept me alive. It kept me, like afloat, and gave me meaning and purpose. And I wanted to return that favor. I wanted it to be like, if I can be in a band and play music for people, go out there, tour, put out records, and if I can give them even this much of what I took from it, that it'll be worth it. And that dream was achieved. I got to go out there and do all of that. But what I did discover along the way, unfortunately, because some of the tours were kind of cool in 2001, where we were playing some amphitheaters, opening for some acts like Poison and Quiet Riot and Warrant, and some of the old school like hair rock bands from the 80s and early 90s, which was amazing because these guys, all great guys, and they put on great shows. And so I got to really live the rock and roll lifestyle for a little while. But what I discovered in all of that was, I don't know if this is, I thought if I just get to this, everything's going to be perfect. Life will be wonderful, perfect. And this is exactly how I wanted it. Well, that didn't quite happen. It was like, I was still kind of like, I didn't like the attention. I love the being on stage part. I love the writing the songs, being creative, getting into the studio part. But all the minutia that comes along with it, which you guys are very familiar with, and people want to chat it up after the shows. They want to know you. They want a piece of you. They want your autograph. Sometimes they want, that made me very uncomfortable. So I kind of was like, wow, what am I going to do? It's like, I don't know if I can do this forever. I can do it for a while, but I don't know if I can keep on doing this. So that's kind of how it evolved into me stepping into the studio where started producing a couple of acts here and there and felt very much at home doing so. Felt like this is where I was meant to be.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to let the performing part of it go.
What was the first part of that transition like? Like, did you, the first person that came to you, if you remember, that came to you and was like, hey, we want you to produce our record, did you immediately feel like confident and like, yeah, I can do that? Or was there hesitation? Or were you like, fuck it,
Yeah, I'll try that.
A little bit of all of it. It was I was working sound at a place called Village Pub South, which is now the Amityville Music Hall. This was back in 2003, 2004. I was still technically performing at that point. My partner and I, he was the singer in the band. I was a guitar player. We were still partnered up after our old band, Liquid Logic, disintegrated. We stuck together, signed a new record deal, wrote a whole crop of new songs. So we were still active at that point. So we built a studio at our band house. And it was like, okay, so this was mainly for us to record our own stuff so we could bring it to our producers and be like, we could work on tracks together. But then I said, you know what, since I'm meeting all these bands, doing sound at the club, for some extra cash, I was like, maybe we should try producing one or two of these bands. And I met this great band at the Village Pub South called Deck 84. And they called the band Deck 84 because they were all born in December of 1984, all four members. So it was kind of neat, But I made friends with them real quick. One night I said, you guys are great. It's like, hey, I'm just starting a studio. I was like, would you want to come do some tracks with us? Let's produce some tracks for you. And they were like, great. And it actually, for a first time out, it came out pretty good. It's like, but I didn't feel like I knew what the fuck I was doing at all. I was just kind of like, kind of
trial by fire,
calling up friends, going, where do I find this in Pro Tools? Because I just started I got to give credit to my buddy Pete Anselmo and my buddy Mickey James. I think might know Mickey James. He was in a band called Earth Eats Dog. Now he's in a brilliant Aerosmith tribute band called Last Child. Great guy. He was my roommate for a little while. Great engineer, great producer, great musical mind. And he was living with me at the time. And I'm like, Nick, how do I do an aux send? Nick, how do I do this? Nick, how do I do that? So him and Pete Anselmo, who used to be in a band called Stage with Ryan Starr, they were instrumental in helping me in the early days. I kind of navigate all the Pro Tools nonsense.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing, Yeah. I mean, you've been through it, right? Where you're kind of trying to figure it all out, Yeah, and you dabbled in it too, where it's like it can be something.
It's completely daunting to me. I can't.
But with those guys' help, I was able to. Me and Sean, my ex-partner, used to do. We were able to do a great little EP for Deck 84, and Billy Reimer, the drummer of that band, went on to play with Dillinger Escape Plan.
Okay.
And now he's playing in another band called NK, which was originally North Korea, and he's an incredible, one of the best drummers I've ever encountered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guy is absolutely outrageous. And early on in his career, before he really started making noise, I got to do one of his band's EP. So a lot of fun.
Cool.
So I listen to it nowadays. It still sounds pretty good. Not quite the way I would do it now,
Hindsight 2020. There's definitely moves that you would make.
But the band was great, and that was the key. They were great already. So even though my chops weren't necessarily where they should be in the studio at that point, it still shined through because I always say this: material, performance, production, a distant third. Material first, performance second, production way distant third, because that's subjective. Like, you can make anything sound like anything, and it's not right or wrong. Jack White makes records that sound like they were done on an 8-track, and often they were. And then you have a Dua Lipa album, which is the epitome of modern technology.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And both are great.
For their own reasons.
For their own reasons. So that's subjective. But if you've got a great song and a great performance of said song, that's where the bread is buttered. So that's why Deck 84 stuff came out pretty fucking good, because
performance and the material were there.
It was there. Even though the production part maybe could have been a little better. That was my first one, though. That was the first.
I like every once in a while. So for me, like, because we've talked about this earlier, all the hats. By the time I'm done putting something out, I don't want to hear it again. I'm done. Like, that's it.
Mhm.
I very rarely go back to what I did in the past, except for if there was something that I liked and I'm like, okay, let me bring up this section. Let me see what I did here to make this sound this way.
I do that often. If I like, what did I do to that snare on the song?
Right.
And I'll like pull it up just to kind of see, you know?
I'll pull it up or I'll like create a preset and then I'll be like, okay, cool. Let's see if I can implement that here. And then I'll implement it and then I'll have to tweak it and stuff like that.
You always have to tweak it because no two drummers are alike, no two performers are alike. You always have to kind of do a little negotiating. For sure.
I will tell you though, if you're using the same drum program, they all sound alike.
Right.
Commercial break.
On your fitness journey, extraordinary results require extraordinary action. Your training and quality of nutrition is definitely key, but adding a well-developed nutritional supplement protocol will push your results to the next level. And that's where Legacy Sports Nutrition comes in. Legacy Sports Nutrition believes that everything you want to achieve in life can be aided by optimizing human performance. All of their formulas have been professionally developed for both men and women and are made to the highest quality standards. Legacy Sports Nutrition is a brand founded and operated by athletes who have been performing at world-class levels for decades. And when I say athletes who perform at world-class levels, I truly mean it. This is NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis's company, so you know these items are absolutely championship quality. Go to LegacySups.com and use the promo code BACONPOD and you'll receive 10% off your order. Once again, that's LegacySups.com. Use the promo code BACONPOD for 10% off your order. Set your goals, push your limits, and leave your legacy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? WWE Hall of Famer, The Godfather here, and you've been consuming Bacon is My Podcast.
One of the questions I had was like, what do you think is different about the mindset in making a great record going into it, or a mindset of wanting to make a hit record going into it? And like, how do you kind of, if you see something that a band kind of like, you see something in them and you know that they're capable of something and they're barking up a tree of something that's popular or very now, how do you go about kind of navigating that to get them to get
I will
what's best out of
I will
them?
honor that, you know, because like, you know, I think you guys have both gone through the experience with me where I ask you, what records are you hearing now? What are you liking now? What's in your head? What kind of, wow, like if we could go for something like that. I mean, you know, I always say, give me two records that you're really digging. And like with you, it was like Social Distortion was one of them. And I can't remember what you guys had come up with exactly.
I don't even remember.
It was a few years ago now. But like I always like have the band give me a couple of different records. Like currently I'm working with Pathmaker, right? And the two records they gave me was an Alter Bridge record and a Puddle of Mud record, actually. So, and it's very actually very appropriate for what they're doing. So they're very much in tune with what it's at. So, and I just use that as kind of I don't necessarily go, I'm going to make it sound just like this, because even if I did, it's not going to, you know? All I do is just kind of listen to them to kind of immerse myself in the area they want to be in. So to kind of get that general picture is very important, you know? So I kind of listen to the artists and, you know, to see what they're digging and see what they think their music should sound like. And knowing full well that it's never going to be that because they're them, I'm me, and these records are those artists and producers. But it's always good to have a frame of reference. It's always good to have something to kind of listen to and point towards and be like, okay, drums are kind of sitting here on this, or a little roomier space here. So it gives you an ideological path, you know?
What I you know, and I said this the whole time recording with you too, and I say this to literally everybody, is because I've worked with producers and I have left a vocal booth feeling completely defeated and like a piece of garbage.
Me too.
More times than not. Like there's a difference between, like, you know, Jim will give me a critique of, you know, hey, your vocal can do this, your vocal can do this.
and I take it and I'm like, okay, cool. I got to do a little bit better. And sometimes you need that little bit of push to, with wearing the hats and stuff. Sometimes it's good to have your second year, your third year, just be like, hey man, like put a little more into that.
Mm-hmm.
But there are producers that make you feel like shit. they just flat out do. But what I loved about working with you is, and I don't know if we recorded it for the show or not, but you basically become a member of the band.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he was saying
a more objective member,
right?
Of the band,
you
without
become,
an agenda,
right? You're an objective member of the band, and you do help steer it for sure. But you also don't make somebody feel like garbage for what they've done already.
The vote,
so,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but I just how do you your approach? Obviously, you're doing records and stuff. So explain that. Because I don't think we did that. I don't think we discussed it on the episode.
No, I think the vocal booth is a sacred space to me. It's like, like when the singer's coming into and you're both the lead vocalists, so if you're not getting a certain kind of feedback and positive reinforcement, you can go right down the rabbit hole.
Right.
It can be like and the worst is like having somebody who's indifferent. Maybe some guys or girls are being like jerks about it and maybe leaning into you and being rough, but it's better than nothing at all.
Right.
It's like, so then there's some people who just be like, you want to do that again? And there's no feedback.
You're paying me.
Right. There's,
I'm here as long as
and
you're
that's
there.
really,
absolutely
and that's not somebody who's producing.
Right.
That's like
engineering.
That's a button pusher.
It's a button pusher. So for me, it's like, I really try to preserve your guys' mindset and keep you as fresh and engaged in the process as possible, because it can be a harrowing experience being on there. These are lyrics. Most of the time, the singer writes the lyrics, so you're telling your story, and it's like, you're exposing yourself. You're a raw nerve, and it's like you need somebody who in there who gets it and will walk that path with you, and not. For me, I don't want to be overly heavy-handed as far as criticism goes. You notice I do a lot of takes. I'll do 6, 7, 8 takes of vocals because I feel like we'll do complete passes. Like let's run them down from top to bottom 2 or 3 times. Just give me a performance, right? We'll go, okay, let's work on the verse a little bit. Let's just do the first verse a bunch of times, and we'll kind of do a little mixed bag of different things. But my thing is always to be like, I'm always going to say, I'm never going to be like, that sucked, do that again. It's always going to be like, hey, that's great. Can you give me something with a little more snarl on that word, or a little more, bring this emotion out here or whatever. I'll always try and make it a positive reinforcement, because I don't believe in the negative aspect of it. I believe it's like that we need to keep it as positive as possible and as light as possible. We're doing hard work, but at the same time, it should not be fun. It should still be a good time, because music is joyful. It brings out the best in all of us, either as fans or as creators, because we're all just super fans, right? Like at the end of the day, you, me, you, we all just love music. So it's like, and now we're making it instead. That's the only difference, is we've taken that next step to where we created it as well. But we're still the super fans, and I want to still keep that energy in the room of having a good time with it, even though it can be heavy sometimes. Now, look, there were instances. One client of mine who came in and I tried all the positive reinforcement, my usual tricks, but he really wasn't bringing that. This song needed fire. It needed he needed to be breathing flames basically to make this effective. And everything I was doing, I wasn't getting what I wanted. So I kind of had to improvise a little bit. And I said, I don't believe you. I don't believe it, but I'm not believing it. I'm not buying it.
Sell this to me.
You're not selling this to me.
Yeah.
And the way I had to get him to open up, I had to insult him a little bit. Actually, I mean, this just isn't happening. I'm like, I didn't go like, you suck or anything, but it's like, this needs to be. I was like, this needs to be a lot better. This isn't good. I was like, I don't believe you. Make me believe it. He was so pissed off after that. He was so angry at me because he took that as like a personal affront. He went in there and in 3 takes knocked out a vocal of a lifetime, basically. Right. Because you could hear him through his teeth on these takes, because that's how pissed off he was at me, because I kind of insulted him. You know? I mean, I really hate for it to come to that. I don't like that at all. But I want the result, though. I wasn't getting the result I wanted.
You still got to get the So and that's a big thing. The for me too with vocals.
Don't go away. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hey guys, I got a quick question for you. Are you dog people? If you know anything about us, you know that here at Bacon is My Podcast, our dogs are our family members, right? We love to give them a little something extra to look forward to every month, get them excited, and that's why we subscribe to BarkBox. So every single month, Bruce, Bane, and Bruno are treated to 2 brand new durable toys, plus like uniquely curated packs of treats. It keeps them excited, keeps them engaged, and you never have to like go out shopping for stuff. So if you have a 4-legged furry friend that is your favorite alliteration, we got a special deal for you. Just for being a Bacon is My Podcast consumer, if you head over to baconismypodcast.com and scroll to the sponsors, click on the BarkBox link, you'll get an extra toy in your first order from BarkBox. So head over, once again, baconismypodcast.com, click on the BarkBox link, and spoil your favorite 4-legged furry friend today. More alliteration. What's your bacon?
Hi, my name is Patty Negri. I am a psychic, medium, and good witch, and I am consuming Bacon is My Podcast.
Is if I don't believe it, if I don't believe you, that's, you know, even as a vocal instructor and everything, it's like,
It's over.
yeah, I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't care what words you're saying. They could be the greatest words in the world.
And
if you don't believe them,
And people get confused.
I don't care.
People get confused with a great take, thinking a great take needs to be perfect.
Right.
It does not.
Right.
It needs to be real.
Yeah.
It needs to be real in the moment and telling the story. It needs to be pertinent to the story. You know, like I need to feel like what you're telling me happened to you, and like it's real, it's honest, even if it's brutally honest. You know, I need that to happen. I cannot have it any other way. That's what people respond to. They don't respond to, oh, did he sing that note perfectly, or did she sing that note with the right vibrato? No, that's not what it comes down to. It's like believability, authenticity. It's all it's all about. That's all we're trying to find is that. And we'll keep digging until we get it. Like some of the past sessions, like when I used to work with the band Midnight Mob, the singer of that band, Lauren Palazzo, better known as Blackie Death Proof in the Long Island,
fantastic singer,
an absolute amazing vocalist, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, she would need to like she would take a while to warm up to that point sometimes. So there were some sessions we took 14, 15 takes, you know.
Right.
But when the magic was happening, it was happening. So I didn't mind taking extra takes with her or working her or pushing her. It was never adversarial. Actually, one time it was. Only one time. On their Honest, Brutal, Glorious EP, there's their acoustic song, Stay. I don't know. You guys familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a dynamite performance from her, right? And she was concerned, I can't do this. She was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Because the material, the lyrics she wrote were so personal to her. And so it was unnerving her to the point where like she was uncomfortable. And I said, the only time we ever got into a disagreement, and I was like, Laura, I'm like, this is why you have to do it, because it is making you uncomfortable. This is the artist's responsibility. You have to do it for the people who can't.
Yeah.
You have to crack yourself open like a coconut and let it all spill out. But she was hesitant. But once she kind of got there and released it and let it go, you heard it. It's dynamite.
Yeah.
It's absolute
an
dynamite.
exorcism sometimes.
It is. Absolute. And that's how I felt as a performer back when I played on stage as a guitar player. I'd let it all hang out there.
Yeah.
Every ounce of myself would fall out during the performance, to the fact that afterward, I couldn't even deal with anybody. I needed a half hour to recover before I could go say hi to somebody. I had to like sit there and like kind of almost like some sort of meditation to kind of reinvigorate myself. And that's another reason I stopped performing. I was like, I can't go through this on a regular basis because this is the right way to do it. And I don't know if I'm equipped for this every day on the road. Everything. So it was maybe I'm half a chicken shit. I don't know. It's like, but it's, but it's that real though. It's like, it's not about chasing notes. It's not about perfection. It's not about, did you hit this just right? It's about being in the moment and being authentic about it.
And one thing I will tell you is for anybody who has listened to Graceful Art of Falling Apart, Dave is not afraid to go, no, just keep going, because the song Glass Houses, he literally had me do 4 times through without
without like stopping, just
Mhm.
go 4 times through. And then he was like, cool, let's start at the first verse. And I was like, wait, what? And I think we did another like 3 or 4 takes of each part. And I was like, man, my
Now,
my
also,
throat is sausage. Like,
for those of you that have not heard
meatball
it,
meat.
for those of you that haven't heard it, Glass
Ground
House
meat.
is not a it's not a soulfully sung song. It is an
Speak for yourself.
it is an angrily, soulfully forced
Yeah.
song.
I scream the fuck out of it. That's what I do.
Yes.
And but I do sing a little
Because
bit.
that's what it needed.
I do sing a little bit.
You do.
I
You do.
scream and sing, but then I have to do background vocals where I actually have to go higher and sing, and I'm like, what did I do this for? Why am I an idiot?
No, but you know what? It's like, you know what winds up happening is like magic. You guys are all capable of bringing that magic to it, and it's like I found the best way in my process to do that is to kind of let's do a take, let's do another take,
Yeah,
let's do
just
another
get
take.
into it.
And not even a little direction here and there, but for the most part, it's like I don't like stopping and punching in a lot because I feel that breaks up the process. That gives you time to get it unfortunately gives you guys time to get in your heads and start thinking about it.
Makes total sense.
I don't want to do that. I want it to just be like, let's roll. Okay, let's try it a little like this, but let's do it, because it keeps you engaged in the process. And I feel like I can get as much authenticity out of you guys as possible in that manner,
Oh yeah,
I feel like that's how the best way to work it, rather than say, okay, we're looking for the perfect take here. First verse, okay, stop. That word wasn't right. Let's go back and do that again. And
Well,
we're doing
that's-
that 5 times in a row. And meanwhile, we haven't even hit the chorus yet.
Right,
It's like,
yeah.
and then when you hit the chorus, are you really going to be there? I don't know. That's why we do those full takes first, and then we break it down a little. And then I pick all the best parts.
So for those of you who think you're nailing things on the first try,
Rare.
don't.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I mean, there's
It happens.
It does.
happens.
No,
It
it does
does.
happen.
There's a few little one-take Jakes
Like-
out there.
There's a rumor out there that on Adele's 21 album, the song "Rumor Has It," right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was produced by Ryan Tedder from One Republic, right? And I think he co-wrote the tune with her too, and everything. So anyway, he has her in the studio. He's thinking, we're set up for however many takes we're going to take and whatnot. He goes, let's run one down, and she blasts out. According to Ryan Tedder, that's what you hear is her first take on
Wow.
the record. Like she was just so engaged in there, maybe because she thought it's a warm-up take. And,
Right.
and that's a huge thing too. That's why I always say we're warming up. And you know how many times I revert back to those warm-up takes?
Oh sure.
On Rise,
Yeah.
scratch vocal on that big note at the end. That big
Mhm.
note when you hit on Rise, that was the scratch vocal.
Right.
Ah!
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because he nailed it. And
Yeah.
we did a bunch of other ones. A couple of them were acceptable, totally, but there was something about that one
Mhm.
because you knew you weren't doing a take. You knew you were just running it down.
Right.
We're going to do a scratch vocal so we can put some more guitars on it. We know we're not getting in the way of anything. And I kept going back to it, going, I'm going to have to use this because it's there.
Right. Sometimes you try things in those scratch vocals because you're like, I'll try a few things so that when I do this for real, I'll have a better idea.
Yeah, because when you're for those of you who've never done a record before, with Dave, he comes in, you guys do some rehearsals together, you do tweaks here and there, sometimes bigger than others, and then, but you're as a singer, for me at least, I was always kind of doing the same thing over and over and over
Mhm.
again, and then like you said, when you're finally doing the whole, let's do some scratch tracks. You get a little bored of what you've been doing, and you're like, all right, well, we're not using this anyway, so fuck it.
Right. So yeah,
Let's just ride.
let me try a few things so that I can hear them back and
And then,
see what happens.
and then the wizard over here goes, yeah,
That's the one.
let's not tell him. Do this 14 times, please.
Yeah, it's no, you know what it is? It's like, and this isn't your guys' fault or anything, but I think most artists come into the studio with this mindset is, all right, I got to get this right. I got to get this perfect.
Yeah,
We're
yeah. Oh,
etching
yeah.
this in stone,
sure.
Yep.
I mean, I used to think like that for sure. I had my own, and like, this is where I picked it up from, was my own experiences too, as a recording artist myself. It's like, you come in thinking you need to change things, or you need to be better, or you need to be shaped in a certain way and everything. When a lot of times it's not even that. It's just, we need you to be right there and with it. So sometimes those scratch takes or those warm-up takes are filled with amazing shit because you don't think you're going for it. You think, okay, this is a warm-up take. So your brain is completely disconnected from, I'm not laying this down. I'm just spitting it out.
Right.
And then you guys are talented enough where like that's going to do it, you know? And shit, if there's great stuff on there, I'm going to use it, you know?
Right. Oh, hell yeah.
I remember as a guitar player back, this was 1993, I was laying down some leads and, you know, the producer had it ready to go. First take on this lead on this one song, like it was like a Kirk Hammett special, a lot of distortion. I even used a Jackson, I think, you know. So it was like, so you know, here I am going through the motions. I'm totally disconnected because I think it's first take. I'm just kind of letting it, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just rocking out and playing, not thinking about it. Stop, get the end of the solo. Stop. Both the producer and my partner Sean, who's the singer in the band at the time, turn to me and go, "Dude, whoa! Like that was amazing!" And I'm like, and meanwhile, the guitar player in me is going, "You guys are nuts!" I'm like, I can do that so much better than that.
Yeah,
because I heard I planked the note; it wasn't perfect.
It
wasn't like that note didn't sing exactly right. It didn't have the sustain. So the guitar geek in me was like, you know, just like wanted to crawl in a hole and die kind of thing.
Right.
So Rick, the producer, God bless him, he let me. I'll let you have at it. Let's do a few more. It's probably about 7 or 8 more. Never came close.
Yeah.
Never came. And like when I kept hearing the playbacks of the original first take, there was something about that take. And I'm like, and even me and all my stupidity as a guitar player, like wanting some of the notes sounded better on some of the other takes. And this is pre-digital, by the way.
Right.
So there wasn't going to be.
You couldn't go in and be like,
there was no cutting.
Fix that one.
There was no cutting and pasting and moving around. We were on analog tape. So it's
Right.
like, you're either using this or you're not, you know? And I was just like, that was my first lesson into like, you know what? It's not about what you think it is. So I still think back to that. And I use that as a mantra working with all of you guys now too. Is like, it's not what you think it's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes the greatness is found in the last place.
Right.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Okay, so in a world of streaming services, where can you find breaking news, live sports, and a mountain of entertainment? Look no further than Paramount Plus. With plans as low as $5.99 per month, you'll gain access to the following: live news from both national and local CBS networks, live sports from the NFL, NCAA, PGA, and much, much more. Your favorite MTV, BET, Nickelodeon, and Comedy Central shows from past and present. New original content like The Stand or Star Trek Picard or SpongeBob's Camp Coral. Smithsonian Channel shows and documentaries. Movies and much, much more. Go to baconismypodcast.com, click on the sponsors tab, and click on that Paramount Plus link, and open yourself to a peak streaming service. That's baconismypodcast.com. Click on the sponsors tab, then on the Paramount Plus link, and dive into thousands of episodes, live TV, original series, and hit movies right now. Do it.
Hi, everybody. I am Eric Bischoff, and you're listening to Bacon is My Podcast.
Now, do you think at all, like, rock and roll is kind of back underground, right?
Where it should be, actually.
And I agree.
Renegade music, you know?
I agree. Rock and roll should be counterculture, you know?
And it's kind of circled back to that.
Yeah.
I kind of dig it.
But I also wonder, you know, we're sitting here talking about, like, how just that experience, that first take. We look back to, like, albums we grew up with, and or albums that are considered the greatest albums of all time and things like that, like in the rock and roll genre. And those albums are full of a lot of, if you really go into them, there's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of imperfections. There's a lot of things. Do you think that the fact that we can fix everything now, do you think that great rock and roll records are being deleted for the sake of putting out perfect, not as good rock and roll records?
Yeah.
It can be like that in some people's hands, depending on what their mindset is and what they consider to be art and how an art form goes. Because you've heard some great records where they're all assembled, like, you know, like chopping up bits and pieces and putting them all together. So whatever gets it done at the end of the day is fine with me. But that's why you guys have both been through the pre-production process with me, where I come in and we sit in rehearsal, we try and find the right tempos, we try and make sure everybody's playing the right parts, nobody's getting in each other's way. That's still the old school approach to it, you know? Because technically you come in there, try a bunch of things, and then cut and paste the best things together. And I still do that stuff, but I really kind of approach it still in the old school way, where the band's got to be on fire before we press record. You know, you guys have to be kicking ass. You guys have to sound great in the room. You got to feel that vibe before we ever like actually go, okay, we're recording now. You know, I still take that approach to it, but I do use the technology. I'm not going to lie.
Well, as a listener,
you know what?
As a listener, do you hear that out of other people too, or do you hear? Does it sound to you like there's a lot of?
I think there's both.
Yeah,
I think.
There's definitely noticeable stuff.
Like, let me give you from the rock and roll world for an instance.
Yeah.
A band like Rival Sons. You guys familiar with Rival Sons?
Rivals? Oh, yeah.
They, you know, over the last decade, they kind of made the name as being a pretty authentic rock and roll group. You know, a little bit of Zeppelin, a little bit of Sabbath, like that. Definitely that early 70s vibe. And they've evolved and they've changed a little bit. Great group. I feel like they're getting it right. They're approaching it in that older school way where like the band's got to be hot, you know, and the band's got to have that chemistry and that vibe and that, you know, that thing going on. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if the basic tracks of those records are off the floor, like, you know, guitar, bass, drums, and even partial vocals coming right live off the floor, and then they fill in the gaps. So another band like that would be considered that way is Vintage Trouble. I don't know if you know who Vintage Trouble is.
I don't know.
They've been around for a little bit now. The singer was actually on that Rockstar Supernova show from years ago. Remember that? Rockstar In Excess, Rockstar Supernova.
Right. Supernova
He was
the
part
one
of
with,
one of the
Jason Newsted.
And Gilby Clarke and Tommy
right.
Lee. And then the other one was Rockstar In Excess, where In Excess was looking for that scene. I think Ty from Vintage Trouble was on the Rockstar Supernova one, if I believe. He was on one of them, I know. But then he went on to form Vintage Trouble. Like, I saw them on Letterman for the first time in like 2015 or something, and 2014. And could you imagine Ian Gillan getting into a car accident with James Brown, basically? Wow. And that's Ty from Vintage Trouble. He's a black guy, so like he gives you that James Brown kind of look and feel, and he shake his ass and everything. But when he goes for the big notes, it's like Ian Gillan. It's like straight up hard rock, Deep Purple.
That's awesome.
It's great. They're a great band. And I know Don Was produced one of their records, and he literally basically just set up a few mics in the room and got them as is.
Yeah.
Like, so those records are still being made today, like the old school way, you know? But I think like some of the other bands, some bands that are a little more maybe mainstream and technically further up the food chain, they do it more like using the technology and using more of the tricks of the trade, so to speak, where like, all right, let's just get it down and then we'll cut and paste everything together. I kind of do a hybrid of all of that, you know, because the reality of the situation is back in my day when I made a record, like when my band made a record back in 99, 2000, you know, we were in pre-production for 6 months before that record.
Right.
We were
trying to be
figuring out the tunes, figuring out what's going on. Okay, we picked the tunes finally, you go into the studio. We recorded, I think, 18 songs and released 13, and only 6 of them were to a click track. That's how much we rehearsed back then, where we didn't have to use a click.
So for those of you that aren't in bands or recording, a click track is timekeeping, right? It's a metronome. It keeps the time for you. Everybody plays to that so that everybody's doing things and not speeding up or slowing down, and everybody's kind of working together.
Absolutely.
You need to... You'll hear it in your sleep. If you ever record to it,
absolutely,
you will hear it in your sleep.
But since then, the late 90s, when we made that record, in the 20 years since, everybody uses a click.
Yeah.
That's like not negotiable.
Well, everybody does it live now, too.
Because they have playback tracks a lot. Too. They have additional tracks, so the drummer has to have that click in his head. So, you know, when those extra backup vocals come in, or the keyboard parts come in, or whatever it may be,
it's not halfway through the verse,
right? That's not in the right spot. I do that for a lot of my artists. I run playback tracks. Gina Cotillo, a pop artist, you know, she only has a 4-man band. Like, she has a guitar player, bass player, drummer. So she needs me to give her all the synth parts and the backing vocals and the extra little guitar doodads and stuff like that to play back through the system, because she wants people to experience the record as they hear it. So,
Right.
And I think in the pop world that's fine, and even some rock groups too. I think nothing wrong with that. At
Yeah,
all.
I think the
Well,
more produced, the
that's-
more epic kind of soundscapes.
So something heavy. The whole premise of it for me was I want a 4-piece or 3-piece band, and that's all I want. Like, I don't want extra guys doing extra things. Like, I want one person doing each instrument, and that's it.
It's a creative
and
choice.
we do we do backing tracks and stuff like that.
Right, I want a 4-piece band, but I want it to sound like a 9-piece band.
Well, no, I mean,
Right, like
not
you want
necessarily.
the bigness.
Yeah,
What I
Yeah.
mean, more
Yeah.
so is like you want the big
yeah.
big arena.
The
big,
things
you know.
things that I won't run as a backtrack, and most people do. I won't do vocals on a backtrack.
Mhm.
That's the one thing. I won't do vocals, and I won't do like rhythm guitars.
Right.
For some reason, that's always bothered me. But if
Especially
it's like,
if you have two guitarists in the band, I don't think that's necessary.
yeah, well, the premise behind it was one guitar player. You can play rhythms, and then the leads. If it doesn't sound like a guitar, we can run it, or it's just gonna be synced.
I'll exclude pop music from what I'm about to say here because like there's so much layering and so much
Yeah.
going on that they do need backing tracks sometimes. But if you're a rock group and I look at the art of making your record and the art of you guys performing live as two separate entities, like two
Right.
completely
Absolutely.
separate entities.
Yeah.
Like we're going to do what we got to do to make the record sound immense and
Mhm.
all powerful. Because remember, when people are at the gig, all their senses are encompassed by what you guys are doing. They can see you, they can
Right.
feel you, they can hear you. Like
Yeah.
they have it's all coming at them. So they have multiple ways for their senses to be stimulated. So we have to make up for that when it's just the headphones or the earbuds in. So adding extra parts and little extra doodads that may not be there for the live performance is not a problem because we need to make it visceral in their ears.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't have any problem.
Yeah,
in
I'll never have
adding
9-part
things.
vocals on stage, but I will have them on every record.
Oh yes, you.
Right, like those vocals on Say It All. Like I mean, it's like that's a lot of harmonies there, right?
Right.
It's like, but like, okay, some of them will be there, some of them won't be there.
Right.
But I don't think that matters because if you're in front of the
Yeah.
audience and kicking ass and being the great band that you guys are, everybody's going to respond to that.
Right. The energy is different.
The energy is different, exactly. So you
You
need
see a show. You listen to a record.
a show is automatically visceral.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Right. There's
It's
a lot of senses.
There's a lot of
going
things stimulating your senses. On the record, we have to make sure it's just as visceral in a
Mhm.
different way.
on. Yes. Yeah.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, we got to take a quick time out. As you could probably tell by now, Jim and I, we're t-shirt guys. And we're always looking for the most comfortable and best fitting t-shirts possible when it comes to ourselves or our merch. Sometimes they're soft and they unravel in a few washes. Sometimes they're durable, but they feel like sandpaper on your nipples. And it's just not our thing. Well, maybe it's Jim's thing, but it's definitely not my thing. And sometimes you clean your shirts and from sweating at work or on stage, they just kind of get all funky even after you clean them. Well, Fresh Clean Tees is a solution for all your t-shirt woes. With multiple styles and colors, they keep you looking so fresh and so clean. Go to baconismypodcast.com, click on the sponsors tab, and click on the Fresh Clean Tees link and start looking great and feeling great without spending a fortune. Again, that's baconismypodcast.com. Click on the sponsors tab, then scroll to that Fresh Clean Tees link to start looking comfortable and stylish at affordable prices.
Hey, it's Andy.
And it's Dean from Nominee, and you've been consuming Bacon Is My Podcast.
Yeah! was the delivery too harsh? Should we do that again? Let's do it again. Right from the
You
top.
want to do it again? You
Right
want to do it
from the
again?
top.
Do it again.
Hi, my name's Andy.
And I'm Dean from Nominee. You've been consuming Bacon, my podcast.
Yeah!
What we do have to do is feed the meter, if you will.
We do indeed. We do indeed. Dave,
So we alluded to it before. We are sponsored by a little company called Poddex,
Yeah.
which is turning into a bigger company.
check that out.
you are a podcaster, so
cool.
you should probably reach out to them. I can get you some contacts and stuff
They're
because they hook you up. They're really cool.
excellent, cool.
And what
It's like
they
playing
are,
cards? What is this?
yeah, it's like playing cards almost, but it's got like this is the episode deck.
So it's like kind of
Yeah.
like Cards Against Humanity.
Oh, I see. We didn't even have to say it.
Oh, I'm a big fan of that.
So not only is it like Cards Against Humanity, it's designed towards podcasters, new podcasters that might have issues sometimes with coming up with
content
right? Ideas, interview questions, icebreakers, things like that.
Basically,
this is innovative. This
Basically,
is cool.
what we say is,
Yeah.
if you don't have verbal diarrhea the way that we do, and you,
right,
these are very helpful.
Absolutely.
So
do we pull out some cards?
Yeah. What we do is there's 5 different decks. We tell you not to pick the episode deck, but there's interview deck 1, interview deck 2, what the heck deck, and would you rather deck. So we ask you
what I want to pick,
and
what
then we
deck
will,
you want to pick from.
And we will grab a question for
Okay,
you.
so what are they again?
Interview 2.
Might need the glasses.
Interview 2, what the heck, and would you rather?
Would you rather?
Would you rather?
That's a very popular choice here.
It is a popular
It
choice.
is a very popular choice.
Now, Mike, what I want to do right now is we're gonna do a quick pauser because we're gonna fill up our drinks because we want to ask him these on a full beverage.
How about this though? You go ahead. I'll tell them
Good.
what has
And I
to
was gonna
happen
say while
I'm telling them and shuffling.
I'll go get ice.
Yeah, you go get ice.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Good. I like
So,
it. Love it.
Dave,
yes.
If you go to poddex.com
Mm-hmm.
and you use the promo code BACON, because everything
revolves around bacon.
Well, it's better. It's better with bacon.
It is.
Always.
I don't disagree. That's what made me want to be on this in the first place. Not just because of you guys being friends.
yeah, no, we're
But
secondary.
Like it's like, you're doing something called Bacon is my podcast. I was like, I need in on this because bacon is like my god in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
please.
So yeah, if you go to Bacon is my if you go to poddex.com, you use the promo code BACON, you'll get 10% off your order.
Really?
Yeah.
This would be great for our Bean Pies, Bagels, and Cannoli situation, I think.
I will get you in touch with them. And yeah, they're a really cool company.
Because we always talk about I don't know if you know, but our Bean Pies, Bagels, and Cannolis podcast is centered around a top 10 list every week. Like pop culture. Like because we've only been a podcast for 3 weeks. We've been doing the show for a year, but first it was a radio show. It was actually like Tuesdays at 4:00 on the station had an app. But now we decided to so our first 3 have been top 10 desert island discs. Like what 10 albums are you bringing with you on a desert island if you're stuck forever?
I like it.
And we did top 10 fast food items of all time the second week. And then we did top 10 controversial celebrity quotes last week.
Oh, that's nice.
So this could be really good is what I'm saying. It's like,
I
this
think
would be great. I
think this would be great. I'll get you in contact with them because they should definitely be a sponsor for you guys too.
Absolutely,
they're a super cool company. Also, like the owner will email
so
you back.
He's the one who's going to talk to you.
Nice,
which is totally cool. It's unheard of.
Cool swag.
We're a baby podcast right now, so we're just kind of getting our feet wet with all this because we went from live radio to podcasting now.
Right.
Because
Bean Pies, Bagels, and Cannolis.
Yeah, on the
Soul Free Radio Network.
Soul Free Radio Network.
Tuesdays.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So with that said, Dave, I want you. So the reason why I shuffle is because despite living in Vegas.
Yes.
Or as Jim would say, Vegas.
Vegas.
Is that how the Indiana people
Las
say
Vegas.
it?
Vegas. He doesn't know how to shuffle.
I don't.
And
I do
so
not.
he's good for nothing on this.
Yeah.
This segment.
I'm good for going and getting ice.
He gets ice.
And you're damn good at that.
Thank you.
Salute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Salute.
Gotta do something.
Right,
so
get
Dave,
out.
go ahead and pick a card.
I know my strengths.
Pass it to Jim because he can at least read.
I'm good at reading.
You can read.
Well, maybe not good at reading, but I can read.
You can read it.
I'm
with
adequate at
glasses,
reading.
too, so that's
I'm adequate at reading. All right. Dave, would you rather be in shape with a great body but have an ugly face, or have a gorgeous face but Be a slovenly fat pig.
I think I'm fucked on all accounts here. I think I'm probably closer to the second one, probably. You know, I mean, not that this is a gorgeous face, whatever.
Oh, you're a hot librarian. What would you prefer?
I would prefer number 2, probably.
You prefer?
There's no way I'm ever going to be in fucking shape. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm kind of a fat fuck.
We like bacon.
Yeah, it's like
there's a market
and
for
I cover
Butterface
this
as well.
whole face with the beard anyway, so it's like you wouldn't know whether it's nice or not.
I want to
anyway.
flip
I
the
have no
script on
idea.
this real quick, Dave. And what I want
So
you
we'll
to
go
do,
with number 2.
I want you to pick a question out of the What the Heck deck to ask Mike.
What's happening there?
I don't know. One was backwards, so I guess that's it.
I think that's a sign.
I guess that's a sign. So now you ask
I
Mike
answered the last
a question.
Okay, so
or you can ask me. Either way.
Well, you put your glasses on, so we might as well just let you.
Yeah, I mean, I can read now. So, yeah. What strange thing would you like to happen at your funeral to make people
Oh,
laugh?
no, this question was answered in our last.
Okay, so let's do another one then.
One by you. You and I
Yeah.
both talked about it too. So
I did just think about that the other day. It wasn't to make people laugh. It was what I want. I want Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" playing on loop at my wake, basically.
I like it.
The album just like over and over.
Oh, the whole
again.
album.
Yeah,
record.
just like the whole. No, it's got to be the whole. record.
just the song.
What's going on? No, Neil Casale, who was in Chris Robinson Brotherhood.
Uh-huh.
He unfortunately committed suicide. I think it's almost 2 years ago at this point. And when I read what happened at his wake, it made me feel like I love this fucking guy even more now. He had "Moonlight Mile" from the Rolling Stones on loop the whole time.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, if I didn't like this guy enough already, now I really like
Right,
the
yeah,
fucking
that's-
guy.
that's pretty crazy.
Epic, dude.
Make sure
epic.
there's great music.
So I'm asking you,
Right.
and I think that's very imperative. I think
Well, he's still got one there, so I'll put it back
I think
inside.
Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" would be very appropriate. It's one of my favorite records
Right.
of all time. So there you go.
I like
All right, am I asking this to Mike?
You're asking it to Mike.
Sure.
Back in high school, what was the strangest thing someone could find in your locker? That is interesting.
It is kind of interesting. I don't even remember my locker.
I remember my junior year locker for some reason.
I got to be honest with you.
Think.
I don't think I used my locker at all in like senior or
That's a
junior
rock and
year.
roll answer right there.
I didn't even use it.
Senior year, I didn't use mine at all. I forgot the combination. That's how little I used it. I had to go to the office to find out what the combination was.
Strangest thing. I mean, there's a very good chance there was some kind of lunch there,
That got left
like
behind.
left behind,
Right.
for sure. That made it smell kind of like funky
Yeah.
and whatnot. I used to leave my books like at the classes. Like I'd
Convenient.
I'd find spots all around and just be like, I'm not carrying this shit around. So I'd kind of discreetly just be like at the back of the room and just be like, and then just walk out.
All right then.
So yeah, I basically I had a like a binder and a notebook that was all self-contained, and so I could be at the ready. I'm not gonna walk around with fucking books in my backpack.
Let's do.
I've always been a backpack person.
I was going
so
to
always
say,
had
let's
everything in
do
my
what we
backpack.
do on Bean Pies, Bagels, and Cannolis and go around the bake shop, we call it. And
okay.
Oh, I like that. I like
why
that.
Don't you answer this question as well?
Well, the first thing I thought of was probably the weirdest thing you would find in my locker was a hairspray bottle full of vodka.
That's not weird.
Sneaky,
That's
sneaky.
that's smart.
Because that's
That's
what
genius is what it
that's
is.
what I had in my locker. But that was in my junior high years, because my high school years I was straight edge because I got caught drunk and my life was
This
ruined.
is a good story.
Yeah.
If you go to the
archives,
archives, as one of my coworkers would say, if you go to the archives, it's one of the first episodes.
Yeah, but
we don't remember a lot of those.
Before I was straight edge in my high school years, you could find various containers full of booze in my locker. But also, I think my senior year, I didn't use my
Use
locker
it at all.
either.
Yeah.
I had a backpack, and I just kept everything in my backpack, and I just walked from class to class.
I had so few classes senior year. I remember
that's
having
the
to
other
go to my locker at one point because I had to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Like this is months later, and Bell rang. Everybody's in homeroom. I'm standing out there in the hallway trying to figure out the combination. I'm going, I have no idea what this is.
Right,
anymore.
right.
So I did have to go to the office and actually like kind of figure out what it was because I'm like, I haven't really opened this thing all year, so I don't really know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do remember my junior year locker. I would just dump the books for the semester at the bottom of the locker and just leave them there. And I was the guy who showed up to every class with nothing but like something to doodle on.
Right.
Write lyrics on, whatever, you know. But I do remember I had the wherewithal to put a bunch of pictures on the inside of the locker, and I had a great picture of Jimmy Page with the double neck. I had a great Ace Frehley picture from the 70s with Kiss, and I had an Alex Lifeson picture from Rush as well. So I guess you know where my heart lies now.
I had a picture of Alice in Chains.
Oh, nice.
In my locker.
Appropriate for your age, appropriate for
I
the
had
time.
a picture of Alice in Chains in my locker,
There you go.
Love it. So let's talk a little bit about podcasting, Dave.
Yeah.
You do podcasting now, too.
Yeah. It's just kind of something I
everything.
stumbled on,
Yeah, right? Like, the juggler of things.
My buddy Harlan, who's also like my manager, and he managed my band back in the day, and he's like my best friend in the whole freaking world. He hooked up with an app called Station Head a little over a year ago. And it was created, one of the creators was Ryan Starr, who was in a band called Stage. It was very popular, and he also had a great solo career. He's on Atlantic Records for a bunch of years. Great singer, great guy. He was one of the developers of this app. So it was basically like a live radio app. Instead of podcasting, it was more like live radio. Like we would do our shows at a specific time every week and everything. So it was fun. So we first started doing a sports show called Extra Innings, which we still do on occasion for special occasions. But we had some great guests on. Eric Coleman, who used to play for the New York Jets. Doc Gooden, who used to pitch for the Yankees and the Mets.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it was a really great interview. Let me tell you, sweetest guy on earth, too. Doc Gooden, one of the best people ever. So we did that first, but so many people do sports podcasts that after a while we were just kind of like, you know, it's like I feel like this is just like, so what? You know, it's like so many people do this.
It's a dominated niche.
So Harlan and his buddy Lawrence, our buddy Lawrence lives in Alabama. They used to go to college together. They went to CW Post. They were both in the radio situation. They're both involved in radio. Lawrence is still a DJ to this day down in Alabama. They started a show on the Soul Free Network through Station Head called BIMP and Bagels. And they were doing pop culture and top 10 lists every week and stuff. So they were off and running after the first month. But Harlan was starting to text me and be like, hey, can you jump on today and give us your top 10 on this or whatever that week's top 10 was? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I was like a guest on the show. I would kind of pop in since I had the other show with Harlan, the Extra Innings sports show. Then, like, it was funny. Like, we all had really good chemistry together, the three of us. So it was like one of these things where after about a month of me kind of being a guest host, he asked Lawrence, I was like, should we have him as a permanent part of this thing? And all of a sudden they added me to it, and it became BIMP, Bagels and Cannolis. I'm the cannoli, obviously, the Italian guy. Harlan, the Jewish guy, he's the bagel. Lawrence, he's a Southern black man. BIMP.
He's the BIMP.
You know what a BIMP is?
I do not. What is it? I was just going to ask you.
I didn't know either. So around holiday time, we started talking about it with one of our guests, a friend of Lawrence's, this lady, Willette, who's just fantastic. And she started explaining.
What's her name?
Willette.
My mom's name is Willette. This is the second person on earth that I've
No shit. Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. But Willette, she's down in Alabama, somewhere near to where Lawrence is. They're friends. Mm-hmm. So she would jump on our show and kind of chip in every now and then with opinions and all kinds of fun things. So she and Lawrence kind of like laid it out there for me and Harlan what a bean pie is. It's like, oh, you got to try a bean pie. It's a Southern thing. It's more of a Southern African American type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So Willette, incredible baker. Around Thanksgiving, she made some bean pies and sent them up to me and Harlan, being the fucking amazing human being that she is, you know? So the flavor of it, it's like a pumpkin pie. Cinnamony, nutmeggy, like, you know how a pumpkin pie tastes like? Yeah. But the texture is better. You know how a texture, I love pumpkin pie, but what always bothered me about it was like kind of like an eggy texture in a pumpkin pie. You know, it's a kind of eggy,
it's like a
custardy. Yeah. That was always my thing about pumpkin pie, where I was like, it's good, but the texture could be better.
It's like too thick for a mousse.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's kind of
it's dense. It's dense. It's not
thick. It's just
Right.
dense.
Okay. Yeah. Better.
Yeah.
Better.
So I decided. So Willette was kind enough to send Harlan and I a couple of mini bean pies and a couple other little baked goods she makes. She's an amazing baker, and the bean pie is essentially a pumpkin pie with better texture. It's made out of beans. It's beans. So you really have like a pumpkin pie flavor palette, but the beans are the texture in it.
Well, what kind of beans, though? Yeah.
You know, I wish I could say she told me and I totally forgot.
Because like beans always have a little bit of a gritty texture to me.
There is a little bit of grit in it, but it's a tight texture.
But I might be into that
eggy, floaty, light thing that a pumpkin pie is. I loved it.
I might be into that.
Amazingly sweet.
I don't like beans.
If she happens to
taste it.
Yeah.
If she sends me,
passion.
if she does it again and sends us more, I definitely will get you guys in on it so you can try it.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing stuff. So that's Lawrence's moniker is the bean pie.
Bean pie. All right.
Yeah, so that's where that comes from. So I was added to the mix and we've been doing it ever since. So we've been up and running for like a year doing like we did all kinds of top 10 lists, like top 10 sitcoms of all time, top 10 TV moms around Mother's Day. We did that. Top 10, all kinds of like certain movies, like, like gangster movies of all time, all that kind of various different like top 10 lists. And now we're probably going to recycle some of them now that we're a podcast because,
of course, you can jump back.
Because immediately we went from like 10, 12, 15 listeners, like because it was on at a very specific time every day, to now our first podcast got downloaded like 45 times, so
that's
it's like,
great.
Great. So we're already getting more listeners. So
Yeah.
we're going to recycle some new things. We're going to have new top 10 lists, but it always centers around our thoughts on a top 10 list, basically.
Nice.
So like I said, we go around the bake shop initially for the first 15 minutes and kind of talk about current events. A lot of times it's sports. A lot of times it's something in the news that's happened or whatever. Like we discussed NBA free agency on the last one because they just broke out in the last week and we were talking about who the Knicks signed and who various NBA teams had signed and stuff. So we mix it up, a whole lot of different stuff. But it's mostly pop culture, just anything to do with pop culture. And I mean, we're basically just three idiots just talking, it's really kind of what it comes down to.
Welcome to Bacon is my podcast.
We relate. We relate. That's why I thought this would probably be a good idea if I sit in on this. It's like we'll have just have a lot of fun with it, and that's the key. Just have fun, be yourself.
Well, that's what's most important, and that's what we've learned, and we've learned from successful podcasters, where it's like you get on, and if you're not having fun doing it, don't do it because it's gonna come across that way.
Right.
People are going to notice that you're not having fun with it. So just
basically, it's just
enjoy.
Like we're recording a conversation we would have if we were always hanging out.
Right. Exactly. That's how we started.
It was
like enough people told us because we'd come here to write.
Yeah.
And work on writing songs together and stuff. And the first hour was us just bullshitting and having drinks and hey, let's both unload on each other for the
catching up
for the week. How was your week?
Well, what happens when you come to my place or I come to you
same
guys?
Thing,
recording. It's like that same thing where we just sit around.
And how many people tell you, I wish I was a fly on the wall in your conversation.
I think that's all part of the creative process,
was
though, isn't it?
Well, let's let everybody be a fly on the wall then.
Yeah. Let everybody sing. It's like, but that's part of the creative process, I think. It's like sitting down. What are you up to? What's going on? Talking about the world, talking about our opinions, whether it be something stupid or politics or whatever's going on in the world, we'll talk about.
Right.
And it's like kind of comedy gold to a lot.
Commercial break.
You love your weekly dose of bacon as my podcast, but you need even more bacon. Well, just go over to baconismypodcast.com. You can engage even more with us over there. It's a pathway to our music, extra content, our social media pages. Most importantly, grab yourself some pretty sweet swag and put it all over your body parts. Again, that's baconismypodcast.com. Listen to some tunes, pick up some merch, and tell us, what's your bacon?
What's going on, guys? It is the professional Rhett Titus from Ring of Honor, and you have been consuming Bacon is my podcast.
Well, for everybody listening, Bean Pies, Bagels and Cannolis, which is every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday we release a new episode.
And Dave Caggiano, Betamax Studios, So if you're a band or you're a songwriter or you're somebody
You
that
should
is a creative, you should get
Definitely hit him
guy.
up because this dude's a wizard. He made my band sound fantastic.
He makes my band sound way better than my band is.
These guys are full of shit. They don't know
what he really, really does, and this is absolutely 100% from the heart, is he helps you figure out how to get the sound that's in your head and give it to other people the way that you want to do it. And that is not an easy thing to do, and that is not an easy thing to find. And
a lot of times he enhances it too.
Absolutely. And you have made me a better singer. You have made me a better songwriter. You have made me a better engineer. You have made me a better recording artist. And I am forever grateful and in your debt for that, sir. And I appreciate it. And I recommend you to everyone that I ever meet that is a creative and in this space. And he does not advertise for himself at all. But if you like anything that I have done in the past 6 years, he's the one that's made it sound the way that it sounds. And
it isn't my background vocals,
which are an incredible plus.
Very cool. They're not. They're
but
there.
But
it's
honestly,
him.
He brings the best out of you. He
It's
makes
this
you
guy.
sound better than you could ever sound on your own. You really do that, and I appreciate it, and it means the world to me. And I love you, brother. Yeah, I know.
It means a lot. It really does.
It fucking means a lot to me.
Yeah,
It's
man.
the best. It's the best. Guys, thank you for hanging
These
out.
two guys.
Cash, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for allowing us to force you to let people know a little bit about you.
And you're on camera.
This is honestly why we wanted him on here, because he will not ever promote himself. And now you guys know a little bit more about him. We'll put all his contacts in the info. And where can they listen to the podcast? Where can they find you? And how can they get in touch with you?
Anywhere you do your podcast, Apple, Spotify, whatever, Anchor FM, we use that as a platform. Bean Pies, Bagels, and Cannolis is the show. It's on the Soul Free Radio Network. Just search Soul Free Radio Network. You'll find it. And as far as I go, if you go on Facebook and go with David Caggiano, record producer, songwriter, mix engineer, you'll find me if you search that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let him do your stuff. And besides all that, I've found out, I already knew, but we found out, and you found out today, that music most definitely is your bacon.
I feel like that.
Yeah.
As much as I love bacon.
Right.
Yeah. Music's my bacon, and then bacon's my bacon.
Exactly.
How about that?
And for all of you out there, ask yourself every single day and make sure that everything about what you're doing in that day
Always.
is including what it is. But ask yourself,
What? What exactly is your bacon?
yeah, what's the question, Dave?
What is your bacon?
Exactly. What's your fucking bacon?
Hashtag what's your bacon?